Okay, so thank you for joining us for our webinar, free webinar. I meant to do this forever, so here I finally am. And basically wanted to kind of give you guys an introduction of why I decided to do webinar and these free webinars right now, of course, also with the help of Todd, who's on the call as well that you can see. And Todd is actually well, you know me, of course, since you've been a subscriber, watched my YouTube videos. But Todd has actually been really instrumental in getting me in front of a camera, in front of you guys. Otherwise, I really wouldn't be here, especially not in a webinar. I would just be too scared and way too introverted. I'd just be in the closet doing books and stuff. But Todd is my life coach, and he can tell you all about what that is. But what he has helped me do is really get some clarity about what it is that I wanted to do. We had some really great conversations about how I wanted to help people and what I was doing that I didn't want to do anymore, and how I should shape my work, my teaching, my consulting to reach more people and be more useful. And he's really helped me over many conversations in the last couple months to get clarity through that. And so he's really kind of like, like if you can picture being like a sports coach, he's more like a career coach and has really, really helped me. So I decided, or we decided jointly, I guess, to collaborate. We actually did an audiobook together as well, which is still in production. But we also decided to start hosting these webinars together and kind of bring together our skills for you guys to take advantage of as much as you need us. And of course, you know me, I have the real estate knowledge and the real estate background and technical side of it, while as Todd is more the I don't know, the encourager, the coach. He can tell you all about that. Somebody that can help you actually push forward. Because what I've seen with a lot of you guys, whenever you purchase my audiobooks or my consulting packages, I can tell you all day long about how it's done. Until you have the courage to actually do it, you're not really going to make a lot of progress. And I felt like that part was missing, and I couldn't give you that because I'm not a life coach myself. So I brought Todd here with me. He's really here to help you as well. You can contact him also directly. He'll tell you all about that. But I think together, what we can do is not only bring you the information of how to do it, but basically be able to give you a push of how to, or find those stepping stones until you can get to your goals. So I'm just going to hand it over to you, Todd, and explain a little bit about what you do and what you bring to the table for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me, Julia. I appreciate it. It's nice meeting everybody. But yeah, just like Julia said, I'm a life coach. Right now, I'm a life coach for Julia, and she just mentioned how it would be good to combine together and just help you guys with where you're at right now. I mean, these are uncertain times, unprecedented times for everybody, especially with this virus. And so, a lot of people are in a position of, do I make a big decision like this now, whether it be real estate or something else? And people need confidence in what they're doing. They need a sounding board to be able to voice their opinions, their ideas. And that's kind of what I provide. A little bit of background about myself. I was in retirement planning for the last 10 years. So I did some financial planning as well as some other avenues there when it comes to retirement planning. I really enjoyed it. It was a great career. It was very successful for me. But towards the end of it, and I don't know if you guys can relate to this or not, but I just kind of was losing the passion towards the end. It just wasn't what I was wanting to do anymore. But what I loved about it was working with people and building those relationships. But obviously when you're in sales, sometimes you're not always able to do that because you're looking constantly for the next client, the next person. So you don't get to spend as much time as you'd like. And so what I kind of learned and what I developed towards the end of it was I was more concerned about what people were wanting to do with their money instead of me actually helping them make money or helping them with a plan. I was curious to know what people's life goals were, why they wanted to accomplish what they did, and what was holding them back. And so it just kind of started from that. And we're all our worst enemies. We get into our heads, and it can be, and that causes confidence issues and a lot of things that people, just need to gain confidence and self-assurance. And so that's just one aspect I bring to the table. Like I said, I do have a wealth of retirement knowledge. If you guys have any retirement questions, I don't know the real estate side too well, but that's why Julia and I felt like we would be a good team, because we want to offer this to you guys right now, these 2 free sessions, because in a time like this, with this virus going around and a lot of economic questions and concerns that we're facing right now as a society, that's the least we can do, is just provide this session to you. So we want to be of resource. We want to be of help to you guys. Very excited to be on this call. And like I said, the main thing is I'm just looking to build relationships, and it's all about trust when you work with people. And so we want to kind of bring you in to our livelihood, so you can kind of get closer to us. You can know us. You can put a face to the name. And we want to build that relationship with you. So we're looking forward to all your guys' questions, and it's great to have everybody here. So thank you.
That's great. That was well said. I don't know if I could have said that better. So I guess we can just dive right in and either open the floor for questions, or if you guys want to share any of your stories or something that you want to talk about, in the absence of which I have lots of things I can talk about. So feel free to send a text or grab the mic.
Yeah.
You're on. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, my first question here is about this, market crash that, a lot of people are talking about. So I'm not sure if it's the best time to buy right now, or just, kind of wait for until, see what's going to happen in the next few months.
Yeah, I actually mentioned this on my radio show today too, and we talked about it a little bit briefly right before the session here. And anybody feel free to chime in, but basically what I was speculating anyways, and I don't know if that's helpful or not, but we have currently in a lot of states, we have a foreclosure moratorium, which is basically a stay of any kind of legal foreclosure action going on for most of the states. And if you wanted to read up on that, actually I pulled that up on my website. I don't know if I can share a screen, but basically it's on the National Consumer Law Center's website. It's a org website, nclc.org. I'll type that in the message here in a minute. And it has the basically foreclosure moratoriums and stays, and it tells you what and until what date in each state the foreclosures are basically being stopped right now. So what I was predicting in my show today is that really not a whole lot is going to happen with foreclosures, especially in those states. And they really can't even do any kind of in-person sales right now anyways. But now there were a lot of states that were doing foreclosures online anyways. So with those are still proceeding, unfortunately. I've seen actually Florida is not even on this list of these moratoriums. And Florida is one of the states I go to for online auctions. So you may want to individually check in the areas that you're interested in, which ones are still having these auctions. But I'm gonna send you guys in the chat right now the link to this website, and you can look up your state where you're in and kind of like look it over. But what I'm predicting to see is that really for a couple of months, nothing is gonna happen in those states where moratoriums are in place. And in the other states, it's gonna be really sparsely done. But what I also see is that after that, things will pretty much just come back with a vengeance, because I just can see that people that were really not interested in selling all of a sudden will need to sell because they just can't make ends meet anymore. And then other people really weren't interested in buying now all of a sudden see a lot of really good deals, so they're going to be buying. And what I also see, and this is what came up many times on my investor chat, is that I think people are not going to forget this very quickly, especially in the big cities. I feel like people are going to be, moving out of the cities and more in the suburbs, quite honestly. So personally, and this is my opinion, and it was verified by a couple other investors, suburbia is starting to look really, really a lot better now versus the inner cities. So I don't know what that's going to do to our market prices. I don't know if there's going to be a crash. We have a lot of government bailouts right now that are being discussed and analyzed and passed. But it's very possible that after all of this is over, there's going to be a lot of changes and a lot of throughput of sales and buys, and people will be moving out of the cities because pandemics strike the cities. That's just the way it is, more than any other place. So that's my analysis. So in terms of your question, should you buy right now or should you wait? That's a hard question. but I think if you wait a little bit, if you're looking to finance and get really good deals, mortgage companies, if you have good credit and you have a good FICO score and you maybe have some money to put down, are really going to be seeking out the people that are still able to get loans after this and will offer you really good rates. So,
Yeah, because
mm-hmm.
Because what I'm thinking is, if let's say right now, if you run the ARV, let's say the fair market value, let's say is 100,000 right now,
Mm-hmm.
and in the next couple of months, it will drop to like 50,000.
Yeah.
So just like 2008, it's just slash.
Yeah. I'm not sure it's going to be like 2008. 2008 was a different kind of animal. This is where there was a lot of fraudulent activity going on and a lot of bonds that were, that had subset mortgages that were already nothing worth to begin with. But right now, the market was really solid before this started. And, sort of solid, not like 2008.
Okay.
2007, 2008 was a different animal. So I don't know. My speculation is people are going to move out of the city, so now is a really good time to look at suburbia for good investments.
Oh, in suburbs, I see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
And for okay, sorry, I got so many questions.
No, that's fine.
Oh, that's okay.
For let's say in Florida, I've seen seems there's so many condos up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm not sure if buying online tax deed auction, what would be the maximum bid I should offer or bid on it? If the value is 100,000, what would be the ideal maximum bid for that for a condo?
So whenever you look at condos as an investment option, I always want to make sure that everybody that bids on those, whether it's a lien auction or deed auction, always be looking to see what your HOA or condo association fees are going to be. Because in a lot of places, they're actually quite significant. So you can get something that's really, really cheap, like a $50,000 condo, which is not going to cost you a whole lot in a monthly payment, like $300 or $400. But then if you have to pay $500-$600 a month in condo association or HOA fees, then all of a sudden now you have a quite huge payment, and then you have to look at the tax side. If you're using this condo for yourself to live in, you can't deduct the condo association fees off your taxes if you live there yourself. You can only do that if it's a rental. So you have to be really clear about why you're buying this condo, what HOA fees are, and take all the variables into account when you do your due diligence and analysis.
Yeah, what I was thinking is, let's say if the market is 100,000, I'm not sure if the maximum bid is 50,000, let's say.
Mhm.
So if the market is 100,000 and then I bid, let's say 50,000,
Mhm.
eh, my plan is just to sell it right away to kind of like double the money. I'm not sure if that is a dream or that's possible. Since it is a tax deed auction in Florida, that
Yeah.
means you have the right to, it's yours right away, right? So if my maximum bid is 50 and the buy is 100,000,
Yeah.
I have some room for that. I mean,
Yeah. Well, there's a comment right here on the chat basically,
mhm.
and from Ramon, and
Yeah,
he
yeah,
says the right thing is depends on the damage and updates needed, which is very
yeah,
true. So
yeah.
even
As
buy it for 50,000 and the market is 100,000 right now, and if it's a deed or a lien sale, doesn't matter. You really don't have access rights to look at it prior to.
correct.
And the one thing I have to say, if it's within a community, a lot of times you'll be able to, within the community, you kind of have a fair assurance that somebody's looking after it because there's going to be board members on the condo association or HOA association are kind of keeping track of things. But then again, you still don't know what it's going to look inside. So
Yeah,
I'd be a little bit careful, but um, how
yeah.
much?
Speaking of that, um, do you know like if we can ask someone remotely to check, let's say the condo or inside the property? Let's say since we're like out of state, do you know like a company or maybe a
Not
realtor or
not a,
something,
not a company, but here's where Todd actually could help you.
or
Um,
like a broker, as a broker up there?
Not as a broker, but just remember that whenever something is in the community like that and it's gated and there's maybe restrictive access rights or something, um, really to get any information that you need to look at it from the inside requires people skills. That's just the
Hmm.
way it is. So if there's any way, this is how I would approach it. If it's a gated community, you can't go inside, trying to see what other units within that same community are for sale and get a realtor to go and show you one of the other ones if you're down there or send somebody. And while you're there, there's going to be people in the driveway, outside walking. You can approach them, you can ask them, and Todd can help you with, pretty much getting information out of anybody walking down the street.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
practical skills, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
like remotely. I mean, right now, let's say if I find a property in Florida, could I maybe ask a broker or realtor in that area and ask their if they can go inside and see the property, or maybe a contractor?
Not unless it's for sale and it's advertised. You can't,
Okay.
no, it's not advertised and it's
Hmm.
possession is with the owner. It's really
Yeah.
not something
Yeah. And
you
and
can
my
send
and my
out to
ad
everybody. I'm sorry.
yeah, and my other idea also is, if I can't see the inside, I will assume, uh, of course, it needs some work. And my calculation with that, let's say if the square area or size of the property is 100,000 square feet, so I would assume maybe $25 per square foot of rehab. So it's about like 25,000 to remodel,
Yeah.
if there is. So my calculation with that is, if the value is 100,000 and
Mm-hmm.
my maximum bid is 50
Mm-hmm.
plus 25 for rehab,
Mm-hmm.
so I can still make about 25 more or less on it. It's
Yeah.
just my
Yeah.
dummy ignorant calculation.
Well, this is a calculation you have to make on each property and decide that. It's really hard to give you like a percentage of how to calculate that right now. So we can let's just talk about that in one of our offline sessions there,
Okay.
because that takes a little bit longer. I can kind of teach you what are the steps that you need to look at.
Okay.
and what to analyze. But we actually have a question for Todd,
Uh,
and I can help you with that too. Actually, it was sent to me by
okay.
Mr. Purvis. So what he's asking Todd, what mistakes do the average real estate investor make? So that was a question for you, Todd. But if you don't mind, I'll give you.
Yeah, I would say that would be more for you. I'm more with the market and retirement planning, but
Yeah.
yeah, definitely go ahead and then I
Yeah.
can chime in too if
Well,
you want me to.
and you can chime in and tell us, and we have another question too, but chime in and kind of look at it from the retirement side too, because for a lot of
Absolutely.
people, real estate is also part of retirement. But
100%.
the average real estate investor, I think is kind of like what was just pointed out by Albert Julian here, which is really making the estimate of how much money you're going to make too optimistic. So if you think you're going to make a certain amount of money, just automatically take like 30 to 40% off of that, because there's going to be stuff that's going to come up that you did not anticipate. So that's why I don't cut my margins very, very close. If I make anything less than 50% on the initial calculation, it's already a deal I'm not going into, because I know that 30 of those 50 probably going to be eaten up by something. So a lot of investors make the mistake that they don't do the math the right way, and they don't really put the effort into anticipating all the things that can go wrong. This is why I'm actually on YouTube, people, and this is why I do my audiobooks, because I've really seen a lot more than most people, and I can point out and show you, okay, you forgot about this, and you forgot about that, and you forgot about this. And it sounds like I'm, peeing on everybody's party, but I'm actually really trying to prevent you from making very costly mistakes, just because I've made them myself. So, and go ahead, tell us from the retirement side, because we've talked about this too. What mistakes people make, if you have a moment, Tom.
Well, it's just similar to you say, do your due diligence for any type of decision you're doing, whether it be real estate or investing. I think a lot of times people don't do their due diligence, and they can kind of make a decision pretty rash, pretty quickly. So just like you were saying, you're gonna want to know all the intricacies of the pros, the cons. Are you going to be able to handle the cons if they happen? Not that you want to plan for or think negative necessarily, but you just want to weigh everything out. And in regards to the economy right now in the market, yes, this is an unprecedented time. But I do feel the markets eventually we're going to get bounce back when this surpasses, and this will be a time. And so what I'm recommending for anybody right now when it comes to retirement is just make sure you have an emergency fund set aside, 3 or 4 months income.
That's a recommendation for any time too, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. But especially now in these times, and keep enough in reserve, but at the same time, you don't want to keep an abundant amount in checking and savings. It's not the end of the world. Things will start to progress. Things will change. And that's a mistake I see people doing as well, is they put all their money into, a checking account or a money market account, a low bearing interest account. Again, you just want to keep what you feel you need on hand, but I wouldn't keep anything more excessive over that. But everybody has their own comfort level. But again, as crazy as this sounds, this might be a time to invest a little bit, because if you can wait for the longevity and kind of wait this out, you're going to see some very nice returns when the market bounces back, which it will. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So it all just depends on your investment philosophy. Again, what the goals are, what you're trying to accomplish, and get clarity on what you want to do when it comes to buying real estate. What do you want to have that happen for you? Is it just to create an income? Are there more people than yourself affected by it? Dream big, get very clear on your goals. And that's one of the big things I work with people as well on. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback on that too, because I had another question about that. But let's answer this one from Jesse right now. He's basically asking, could you explain a little about the pre-sale strategy? And I'm looking forward to using this form of investing as well as Todd. Would you mind commenting on how to approach people over the phone? So let me just make sure I get it straight so that we're all on the same page what you mean, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But you're basically looking to get good deals with owners of properties who are about to lose their properties at an auction, and basically kind of strike them up and do a deal with them prior to the homes going to an auction. And I guess you call that pre-sale strategy. I call it front running. It doesn't really matter what it's called, but that's kind of like what I'm answering. I'm guessing. I hope that's correct. And yeah, so yeah, let's answer that. So it's really funny because the first time I've ever heard of overage investing, it was an overage investor who came to me and asked me that exact same question. He was making decent money with the overages, but he was realizing that a lot of the overages he was collecting, he was actually could have made more money by striking up the deal with the owner prior to the auction, just buying the house from under the auction, basically a day or two or a week before the auction ever happened. And the owner was going to lose the house anyways at the auction, so just kind of make a deal with them and figure out something, and just so it never even goes to any kind of competitors at the auction house. So I think it's a great idea. The work that you have to do is the same that you would have to do for overage investing or any kind of investing in real estate. The due diligence steps are the same. But the one key part, and which is great, I'm glad that Todd is here. The one key part is you're really going to have to be able to, I guess, bring forward these people's skills to strike up a connection with the original owner. And mind you, these people are in very big distress. They're about to lose their home. They're going to get kicked out of their home. Sometimes they've been in there for decades or all their lives, or have a lot of emotional attachment to the property. How do you strike a deal with somebody like that? And if you don't, they're going to lose the property at the auction anyway. So how do you make this a win-win for everybody and have that personal connection? So this is something I think we talked about earlier, Todd, is how do you talk to them, if it's on the phone or even in person, about this sensitive situation. I think you mentioned you can maybe help with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just want to make sure you're accommodating their needs as well, not just yourself. And that's the thing. I mean, you got to establish common ground and build a rapport with these people. It does all start with relationship first and foremost. And if you notice, when you're comfortable in your relationships, some of the things you might be asking the other party to do or the other person doesn't seem so daunting or overwhelming once you've built that relationship with the person. So again, with me, I would first start with relatability as far as, hey, I know this is probably the last thing you want to be talking about right now. I know this is a difficult time for you. I completely understand that. Just relate to them in that way and let them know you're there for them, that you hear their concerns, their needs. And that's just going to open up the conversation. That's just going to have people want to be able to help you, And again, you're providing a service by possibly taking this off their hands. I know this may be something you're worrying about or stressing about. I'd really like to help you out with that. How can we make this a win-win where it benefits you too? What do you need from me? And again, it just all goes to accommodating the other person's needs. So ask them how they want to be contacted, when they want to be contacted. Keep in mind, it's not just you, but it's the other person as well. And so when both needs are met, that's when you're not going to have friction or conflict, more than likely. And again, building relationships is going to be the foundation right there. So as you build that relationship, it's going to be more and more comfortable over time.
Mm-hmm. And you're going to be more comfortable talking to strangers too.
Right.
Correct. I've used this example earlier. In the very beginning of my career, whenever I'd approach somebody, I would be like, okay, you need to sign this because it only makes sense. And it did. That was really the only sensible decision for them to make. But just the way I talked to them came off completely wrong. And I've had doors shut on me. I can't even tell you how many deals I've lost that could have gone really well at post sale and before sale, just because I wasn't thinking about the needs of the other person. I was thinking about my own bottom line, and that's really has to be, you know, it has to be on your periphery, but you have to really focus on the other person first and their needs. Otherwise, you're never going to get the foot in the door, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like I coach a lot of my clients is, you know, it's be okay with making mistakes. Don't beat yourself up. You know, that's where so many people trip and fall, and they have a hard time getting back up, you know, because they made a mistake or they see something as a failure. Like even in your situation, you're saying, but that was just progress. You know, you learned this maybe didn't work for me, so I'm going to try something new the next time. And that's how you build progress. That's how you improve. So, so many people are just hard on themselves. And again, this kind of just goes back to my life coaching. But again, don't be afraid to put yourself out there and make mistakes. And the more you do something, the more comfortable you're going to get, the more confidence you're going to gain. With confidence is going to come your approach, how you talk to them, what that if you're in any type of sales, what you're requiring from the sales, you're just going to feel more confident about the agreement, the purchase agreement. I mean, it just goes to so many aspects. And so, yeah, just kind of to piggyback off you, with you saying that, I'm sure you're not the only one that's on the call that have felt like they made a mistake or miscommunicated in some way. And again, those are learning experiences. So just grow from that and keep improving. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. There'll be another deal to be made or another purchase to make, right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah, question.
sure.
Making this
Yeah.
best
Yeah,
mistakes is the best way to learn.
yeah. A question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Speaking about buying it directly to the owner before the auction, how about if there is a mortgage on the property, and let's say, but again, let's say, example, the market value is 100,000 and the mortgage is 50,000 or more.
Mm-hmm.
If you approach the owner and wanted to buy it, that means who's gonna pay the mortgage?
Well, if you are buying it prior to the auction, the mortgage is written in the name of the owner. So whenever I've taught that the mortgage is sort of erased when a tax sale happens, and then you as the investor bought the property at the tax sale, I've always said that the mortgage is not your responsibility because the mortgage is written for the original owner. And so it's not really erased, it's obviously there, but you as the owner are not responsible to pay it because it goes against the owner and not the property. And I've rescinded that actually since. I've made videos about the fact that there are certain kinds of mortgages that are not erased during a tax sale. So if you guys, want to watch my YouTube channel on that, just look it up. It's called the conservatorship. I will put that in the chat here in a second. But when you approach them prior to the auction and you try to strike up a deal with them prior to an auction, which is front running or pre-sale strategy, which is what we're talking about, you would have to arrange with the owner how that mortgage will be paid, because if it's not paid, the mortgage company will foreclose, and they will foreclose possibly with the rights to sell the property. So what you can do though is a lot of times when properties are sold in normal sales, the mortgage company is then paid off, another mortgage is taken up. Everybody makes money, especially the banks and the lawyers, and it's just a big hassle with closing because it costs a lot of money. But what I've seen investors do is that the mortgage just remains in place, and you reach an agreement with the original owner that you are the person that's going to be paying the rest of it off. So that just, in a lot of cases, you can actually just take over the mortgage without giving the old owner any kind of money, and they can basically walk away. They'll walk away from the equity as well, but at least they'll walk away without having a flawed credit report and having that foreclosure sitting on their credit report for 7 years. So a lot of investors use that strategy actually to get property that already has equity by contacting owners that are in distress with their mortgage and just taking that over, catching it up, having the original owner put themselves as an authorized user and person that has access to the mortgage, and then continue paying it from that point onward. Now, I'm going to caveat that because whenever you sell a property, you could claim deed of property to another person. A lot of mortgages have a statement, and they're stating that if you do that, then your mortgage will suddenly become due, which means it has to be paid off. And that's what they all write in their mortgage documents. However, there's ways around everything. What you can do is you can sign the mortgage 99% of the mortgage over to the new owner, to yourself as the investor, and keep 1% with the original owner. So there's all kinds of different ways to do that, and you essentially have circumvented that requirement that if the ownership of the property changes hands, that the mortgage does not have to be paid off. So I have a lady actually that I had on my radio show not too long ago. Her name's Mary, and if you go on my YouTube channel, you can listen to that show. That's exactly the strategy she uses. So she contacts distressed homeowners from mortgage foreclosures, not tax sale foreclosures, and finds the ones that have a significant amount of equity, contacts them before the foreclosure, and then comes to a three-way agreement between the bank, the mortgage company, the original owner, and herself, and basically just takes the property from them and lets them walk away with a fairly decent credit report. So there's all kinds of ways to do this. Really cool.
Another, I'm not sure if this is possible. Let's say there's a mortgage, right? Let's say there's a mortgage of 50,000.
Mm-hmm.
If I buy it by a quitclaim deed, that means it's the deed is mine, right? Even there is a mortgage.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking to record that in the county, so I'm the legal owner of that with the mortgage existing.
Yes.
But since the mortgage doesn't follow the property, it stays with the owner.
Mm-hmm.
And now what I was thinking is I could do that, and I can let it go in the auction, and then just claim the overage. I'm not sure if that's it's possible. Since
Well,
it's a quitclaim deed, so I'm a legal owner of that, and
yeah.
then I will let it go in the auction and claim the overage.
Yeah, you can do that, but just remember that when well, that just depends on how much equity there is in the property. A lot of times people get foreclosed on bank foreclosures because they're upside down, so there might not be an overage. I mean, you can check on those things and see, but I don't know, if you're the owner of that property and you want to actually keep it, I wouldn't. This is what I personally would do. I would try to contact the mortgage company prior to foreclosure and make them some sort of short sale offer. So if the mortgage is 50,000, offer them 20,000 or something, and see if you can just pay it off. I mean, you can get something that way. You don't have to worry about competitors outbidding and doing the legal fees and all that. You know, I mean, there's different ways. But let me get to one more question, because this one I like this question. This one is from Mr. Purvis. He's also one of my students. And he basically asked, how has Todd made my life better now versus before he helped me? That's a good question, Todd, right? I like it. So Todd and I can tell you guys the story is really interesting. We actually met on a dating site, believe it or not. For some reason, Todd at some point was here in Savannah, and we were both swiping, and we matched, and then we started talking. And we decided, hey, we make like really good business partners. So we scratched the whole dating idea. I guess we went on one date, I guess. But instead, we started collaborating. And Todd's really helped me. Well, first off, he untangled a bunch of my personal issues, obviously. And you can comment on that. But I really had a hard time concentrating on my day-to-day work because my personal relationships were holding me back at the time. So this is not real estate related, y'all. But what that actually has helped me is that he kept pushing me and asking me, he's like, hey, what do you want to do with your consulting business? Do you really, do you really want to just be in the background making audiobooks, or do you actually want to reach out to people and really help them in person and answer their questions? And I'm like, well, what I really want to do is take people to auctions and show them, and I want to sit with them on the computer and show them. And, this right here on the Zoom is probably the closest that I can do to show you guys stuff once I figure out how the screen sharing goes. But he said, well, then skip all the other stuff and just do what you love. And we can do that with a webinar. And so this is why we're here. He's actually really helped me focus and get clarity. And we've had many discussions on how the career should go. And it's just like Todd said, all of these ideas were already in my head. He just was able to bring them out. This is such a great thing about life coaching. I guess let me just go ahead and give the mic to you, Todd, and you can explain a little bit more about what life coaching is about, because I wasn't even sure what it all was or how it relates to business.
Yeah, well, one of my biggest mottos is step into fear, and a lot of people get confused by that. Like, step into fear. Fear is a bad thing. Why would I want to do that? And the reason I help people with that and coach them through that is because what's waiting on the other side of fear is usually greatness. So some of the things you're uncomfortable with, or you're nervous about, or kind of putting off, or don't want to deal with, if you start to kind of face that and start to build confidence, what's waiting for you, you never know what's waiting on the other side. And a lot of times it's greatness. So just working with Julia, for example, we were able to get past the things that she was dealing with, the concerns that she had. Some were valid and some were honestly just kind of made up in her head, and she didn't know that. And I hope I'm okay saying that, Julia. Like, I'm not trying to put you on the spot by any means, but yeah, it's just helping to. So what a life coach is just, number one, I'm a sounding board. So I believe there's great creative ideas in everybody, no matter who they are. But sometimes you just need somebody to listen to you and kind of voice your frustrations, vent a little bit, but also get to really define what your priorities are in life. And so I think out of all the negative things that are going on with this virus, which there's plenty, trust me, and I understand it's scary, but one of the positives is it's really had people slow down, and you're really now getting time to reprioritize what's important to you in life. People are really assessing what's important. And so those things maybe you had on your list of what you've always wanted to do but never have done because you worked too hard, or you had family obligations, or whatever the case may be, now you're getting that ample time, you're getting that abundant time. And so coaching, I just really want to bring that out of people. I love working with people. I love the relationship dynamic. And it's just building that relationship, and just my goal is to just have people do what they're put on the planet to do more of, to be able to do the things they enjoy, and to cut out some of the things that they do not enjoy, to minimize that. And so a big thing too with coaching is, just like Julia mentioned earlier and foreshadowed, is very rarely am I going to tell you what you need to do. I can definitely do that at times, but I want to get the ideas out of you. I want you to come up with the plan. I want you to work the steps. I want you to experiment and to see what works and what doesn't work. And so that's the difference. Is a lot of times when people work with somebody, they're like, well, here's what you need to do. And it's kind of my way or the highway. Even when you're working with agents, and when I was in retirement planning, seldomly, a lot of times the client, when I would talk to the client, they seldom felt like they were actually being listened to and heard. And again, that's kind of why I went into coaching, is I just want to build those relationships. I care about people's thoughts. I want to get you excited for life. I want to get you motivated and pumped up. And right now, there's never been a time more needed with everything's going on in this pandemic. So that just kind of speaks to that. But yeah, everybody has things they want to do, but for whatever reason, they push them to the side, or they make excuses. My thing is, how do we get the most out of that? What are some of the roadblocks that are holding you back, some of the setbacks? And when you really start to peel back the layers, when I do coaching sessions with people, again, a lot of times some of the stuff you're worried about is completely in your head, and it's not real. It's just kind of what you made it out to be in your head, and just working through those steps. So hopefully that kind of gives people a clearer picture. I can elaborate. I can go on for days because obviously I'm very passionate about this. But yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. That was a good answer, actually. Yeah, and you know, all of this that we're doing right now was already there. I just needed somebody to tell me that's the way I should go. So this applies to real estate too. I know a lot of you guys are like, well, you know, should I really do this strategy or that strategy? What is best for me? And it's like, let's talk it out. Let's put it all on the table. Let's see what's the best strategy for you. How much time do you have? How much money?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who wouldn't want to? Yeah, who wouldn't want to have 100% confidence when they're going into a deal or making a deal? You know, I'm sure some people still have reservations and concerns like, I don't know if I should do this right now. Am I really making the right decision? You know, and so again, it's just working with a coach can build that confidence for you where you weigh all the pros and cons and you feel good about your decision. You feel good, you feel confident. And when you feel confident, you know, a lot of things are going to progress and take off because of that. So again, it's just bringing out the inner greatness in you. That's what I want to do for anybody I come in contact with, is just bringing out the inner greatness in them, because we all have it, but everybody has suffered setbacks and roadblocks along the way. And my job is to just kind of help you navigate through those and to stay on the course. So.
Yeah. And I just posted in the chat the link to the radio show with Mary, because I think Jesse asked about that strategy. She describes it in the radio show. I interviewed her, so I just posted that. You can watch that later if you like. I had a couple more questions from, I think from Greg. I don't think Greg is on this webinar. I think he registered for a different one. I guess I'm just gonna go ahead and open it and see if anybody that's on still has questions. And if not, I'll answer this one question from Greg real quick. And then I wanted to briefly touch on some of the SBA stuff that's out there. I wanted to share that with you guys because I didn't even think it was anything that applied to me, but it applied very much and has to do with money. So I'm sharing that. Does anybody have any more questions? No? Okay.
So is all our people shy? Do they just not want to be on camera, or they prefer chat, which is perfectly fine? But I'm just curious. Do they all have their cameras off? That's fine. I just thought you might have shut their cameras off, so I'm just making sure for everybody.
No, I think they're on if they choose to. So it's
awesome. I'm kind of shy. There you go. So Jesse, it's okay that you're shy. I'm an introvert as well. I totally get it, but I just need face-to-face interaction with this lockdown that we're in. So yeah. I'm with you, brother.
Yeah. So, okay, let me just get to these two brief things, and then we can close up and just tell people like kind of how to reach us and what else we're doing for the next couple weeks. I had a question from Greg, and he was asking something that I get a lot, actually. He's asking for a new starter beginner that just wants to start in real estate. What is the niche area that I would recommend to work with tax overages or tax deed sales or something else? And what is the one place? Because I always tell people you got to find a niche and you got to really work hard in your niche, and that's how you're going to grow. You can't like diversify yourself over 10 different areas and different strategies, because you're gonna get lost and you're buying yourself a job, and that's not what we want to do. So there's a video out there that I made actually like 4 or 5 years ago. You have, in the very beginning when you're starting off, you really only have 3 variables, or actually you only have 2 variables, but you know, I have 3, I guess. So, and they are your time, your money, and your location. Those are really the 3 things. And location and money kind of go together, because if you have money to travel, you can get to a better location to do your investing. But if you don't have any money and you're in a bad location and you don't have any time, that's going to be really difficult. You're going to have to make some space in one of those 3 variables somewhere. So what I always recommend is to basically look at your finances, see how much money you have. And I can tell you right now that in terms of investing and buying property, actually, the cheapest way to get into real estate, which is sort of kind of real estate related, is through the overage investing, basically, because you don't have any money output much in the beginning. The next thing would be tax sale, tax lien certificates, which is the cheapest that you can buy. Tax liens is the next level, and then of course tax deeds is the most expensive. This is from the money side, really. In terms of time, your overage investing is going to take the most amount of time. That's basically a job. The other ones are all kind of the same. Liens, tax lien certificates, and deeds are kind of all take the same amount of time for research. And the most extensive amount of time, I guess, that you'll need is when you actually own properties and manage them, which is also a more return for you as well. So, and in terms of location, which is the third variable, I would always recommend to start where you are and then look at all the counties around you if your personal location doesn't work, and just kind of start branching out. But don't go out too far. Go maybe a next state over, or a state that you maybe frequently travel to. But don't spread yourself over the whole country. You're like, hey, I'm somewhere in California and I heard there's good deals in Florida. Well, when are you going to get to Florida if you live in California? It's going to cost you $500 just to fly there and back. And that's going to cut into your profit. So start small, but start somewhere. And if you don't have a lot of money, I have tips on my YouTube channel and my videos of how to get a little bit of money together, and just start somewhere. Make the mistake, start somewhere. Don't beat yourself up. Like Todd said, have the courage to just, buy something. Even if it's something little, even if you don't make a lot on it, at least you definitely learned the process of how to do it. So that was the one thing I wanted to mention. The second thing I wanted to mention is that for those of you that have been small business owners on, I believe it's February 15th, so a month before this whole sort of lockdown started, and you were successful, I believe, I'm not even sure that's a requirement. I think that was somewhere else that I read that. But if you had a small business, you can go to the SBA.gov website and go to the Coronavirus Relief Fund webpage, and I'll put that also right here in the chat. They have 4 help options right now, and they're really easy to apply. And they even said that on the news today. They call them all loans, but they don't have to be paid back as long as you meet their requirements, basically. So one of them is a $10,000 relief fund that you can apply for. It's called a loan, but it's really a grant. You don't have to pay it back. It's really easy to apply for. It takes about 15 minutes. Even if you're a sole proprietor, even if you don't have like your own business ID number or tax ID number, you can still apply for that. There's also something like a paycheck protection program. So, and that also applies for sole proprietors. So if you're your only person in your business, you can apply for any kind of income that you've lost for up to 2.5 months. And as long as you can, after those 2.5 months, certify that you haven't fired yourself, which probably you're not going to do, you don't have to pay that back either. So don't leave any money on the table. Check that out. I'm going to add that website right here for you to read. There's 4 options actually. The other 2 are if you already had an SBA loan, they are considering forgiving any loans right now that go through the Small Business Administration. And then the 4th thing is like a express bridge loan, and that's kind of for bigger companies, and you can get $25,000 or something quickly if you needed to make payroll and things like that. So I didn't think I applied, and I didn't want a loan, but when my business partners told me you don't have to pay it back, all of a sudden this becomes very interesting to me. So don't leave any money on the table, people. That's my last thing. I don't have anything else.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, in Florida for tax liens, I heard, I'm not sure if I read it correct, that if you buy the tax lien you cannot approach the owner.
Um,
And I was thinking, if let's say if I buy a tax lien for that property, then maybe I could call the owner and see if they wanted to sell it, not like redeem the property, the taxes
okay.
or
So
property.
with Florida, I would really recommend that you check the videos on my YouTube channel that are related to Florida, because Florida has some really weird laws about things that I'm not even sure I know them all. But remember too, though, that in Florida, you not buying a sheriff's lien or a lien that's valid into perpetuity. You're buying just 1 year. So you're buying actually a tax lien certificate for one specific year, which means
Yes.
that the previous years and the next years might go to another buyer. And so if you wanted to pay off that, if you wanted to pay to buy that property from the original owner, the first thing you would actually have to do is not to approach the owner, but try to find out what other tax lien certificates are outstanding for other years and pay those other people off first. And then, yeah, it's a little complicated in Florida. I would definitely be on the watch out. I mean, we can work through some of them. So on our future sessions, if you want me to look at one of yours, just let me know, and
Yeah, sure, sure.
we'll get on the phone. We'll do that.
Yeah.
It's kind of probably beyond the scope of this call, but we can get on
Okay.
the phone next week or whenever.
I
and
see.
do that.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank
That's all
you.
I have. Yeah. So Todd, did you want to talk about how people can reach you if they have more questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way right now, and kind of what I do, if anybody wants to talk further or have any further questions, is feel free to email me at coachtoddrwilson.com@gmail.com. That's my email. And again, I'll put it in the chat here. That's coachtoddrwilson.com@gmail.com. And basically, just like what I like to do is just kind of talk with people for maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes. It doesn't have to be long. But sometimes just kind of get what people are trying to accomplish, what some of the goals are they want to do, and just seeing if, we would be a good fit for each other, if I'm a good fit for you, if you're a good fit for me. So it's just a very nonchalant, basic 15, 20-minute call. I know you do the same as well. So a lot of times people are interested, like, what are the next steps? How do we keep this going? And then don't forget, we still do have one more hour session we're going to provide to you guys. But obviously, a lot of times people want to continue working, continue the relationship. And so that would be the next steps I would say to people too, is just apply, register for that 15-minute complimentary call where we just talk with each other and just see if this is a good fit and something you want to work with. So yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, and that goes for Todd and myself as well. I think in the past I've just put on my packages on the website. So what we're doing differently now is I really actually want to talk to you and have a quick call and see if we're a good fit and see if I can even help you, because I've kind of been skipping that step, and I think it's really important to reach out to you guys and try to help you the right way. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're working on something possibly in the works to where we might actually do group coaching and team up together. So we'll just kind of feel and get a feel and see how that goes. And if there's a demand for that, if you guys want to do that, where you work with two coaches, we're definitely talking about getting something in place. So let us know. We appreciate all the feedback, good or bad. So
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, well, great. So I guess, if nobody else has any more questions, just if you think of any more questions, you can send us emails. I put my email address there.
Oh, let me.
As well. And
Yeah.
This whole session was actually recorded, but I'm not gonna send this out to everybody unless everybody's okay with it. I guess that's fine, because nobody else really talked besides me and you and Albert and everybody else's chat. So I'll just save it,
Yeah.
and I'll send it to you guys, and you can listen.
Last question.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
As far as the IRA,
Yeah.
what do you suggest about this as far as using to buy properties?
I think you should get a Roth IRA. It has to be a self-directed Roth IRA though.
Yes.
Is it for real estate? There's certain companies that actually sell those. I have one that I'm supposed to be using anyways, but it's an excellent, excellent way to grow your equity in your real estate tax-free. It's excellent. And so self-directed IRA is really awesome for tax savings. So, but Todd is really the retirement expert, so he can tell you about the different options. So
yeah, I talked to someone from the self-directed IRA, and they said there is a maximum that I can put it in a year, and I think like 6,000 something a year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Only.
Mm-hmm.
And
yep. 6,500.
Yeah, about 6,500. I mean, I don't know what I could buy for 6,500, and maybe I could just tax lien, because I don't think I can use it for a tax deed.
Okay. Let's talk about that offline, because I can tell you how to do that, because my friends use Roth IRAs extensively. And let me just give you a little bit of a heads up on how that's done. When you have several people that have self-directed Roth IRAs, they can sell to each other properties for much less than the market value. And so properties are switching from Roth IRA to Roth IRA. As long as the people that own them aren't related and we're within tax guidelines, it's easily done. So I'll tell you about the strategy of how to do that. And
okay.
Even though you can only put a small amount of money into your Roth IRA per year, your income, actually, you can grow the income that's already there as much as you want to. There's no limit on that. So basically,
correct.
If you're getting a real estate piece of property and you're collecting $20,000 of income in rents and you have no expenses, that's money that's in the Roth IRA, because the Roth IRA made it and it's tax-free. So when you take it out. So it's really,
after 5 years, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a really good vehicle. Yeah, you have to have it in there for a little while. And there are other restrictions too. So a Roth IRA is not for your own home to live in or anything. It has to be an investment. And there's a couple other. So we'll talk about that. That's a really good question. I'm going to make a note of that because I want to also make some YouTube videos on that. That's good question.
Okay.
Yep. So we'll tackle that more too in the next session. And yeah, we appreciate all your guys' questions, you guys.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you for
everybody.
the answers and your time.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Stay safe.
Yeah, you too. We'll talk to you guys soon.
All right.
We'll
Thank you so much.
We'll be in contact with the email with the next session. So.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. Talk to you
All
guys
right.
soon. Bye-bye.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe,
Okay.
guys.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. Have a nice
Bye-bye.
day. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
For your free guide to real estate investing, visit juliamspencer.com.